National Assembly reviews economic progress. Da Nang's real estate to take advantage of APEC 2017. Hello and welcome to this edition of BizLine brought to you by VTV International. You're with me, Lina Pham. And as usual, we'll begin our program by reviewing the economic highlights over the past week. The third plenary session of the 14th National Assembly officially kicked off on May 22nd. One focus of this session was last year's economic performance and state budget allocation and growth for 2017. Most noticeably, 11 of the 13 socio-economic targets set out last year were either accomplished or even exceeded. The government is committed to achieving GDP growth rate of 6.7% this year. Deputy Prime Minister Trương Hòa Bình reiterated this determination after presenting a report on socio-economic development in 2016, which showed that Vietnam achieved an economic growth of 6.21%, lower than the originally set target. Related to the 12 projects creating huge losses, the government has deployed a Deputy Prime Minister to lead a task force to tackle the problems and will avoid using the state budget to pay for the damages and create favorable conditions for the project developers to recover. In addition, the National Assembly also discussed plans for restructuring credit institutions, dealing with bad debts, and the law of supporting small and medium enterprises. Ministers and deputy ministers from Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, New Zealand, Malaysia, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam met on the sidelines of the APEC ministers responsible for trade on Sunday in Hanoi in order to assign technical staff to explore an early implementation of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement and its expansion to other economies if they accept the agreement's high standards. These efforts would help ease concerns about protectionism, maintain market access, and promote global trade while improving quality of life. Ministers and deputy ministers from TPP member countries aim to finish the work before they meet on the margins of the APEC summit in Da Nang in November. ASEAN and 6 other nations are accelerating efforts to finalize the terms of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, by the end of this year. The countries all showed their commitments to the course in a working session on the sidelines of the 23rd APEC Ministers responsible for trade meeting. The process to boost free trade and investment in the region is facing many fluctuations in the global market. The halted TPP has proven to be a major setback for the region's economic growth. Thus, the RCEP is considered a highly practical alternative. The RCEP involves the 10 ASEAN countries and Australia, New Zealand, India, Japan, China, and South Korea. Once finalized, it will expand the market for ASEAN nations from 600 million people to 3.5 billion people. According to Trade and Industry Minister Trần Tuấn Anh, 10 years of WTO accession has been a long phase of challenges and opportunities for Vietnam. The growth of GDP per capita to over $2,000 is among many remarkable results. Since 2007, Vietnam has still maintained average growth rate of 6.29% per year, despite impacts of the global financial crisis and public debts. GDP per capita increased from $703 to $2,445. Export turnover in 2016 also increased 3.5 times compared to 2006. Moreover, the country attracted over 22,000 projects with total registered capital of nearly $300 billion. 10 years after joining the WTO, Vietnam has grown stronger thanks to expanding relations and renovating policies. Vietnam's B1 rating and positive outlook reflects its expectation that strong foreign direct investment or FDI inflows will continue to diversify the country's economy when compared with its similarly rated peers, Moody's Investor Service said on Monday. Moody's conclusions are contained in its annual credit analysis of the country entitled Government of Vietnam B1 Positive. Moody's noted that robust GDP growth is continuing, along with macroeconomic and external stability. Vietnam's B1 issuer rating incorporates credit strengths, which include the size and diversity of the country's economy relative to its similarly rated peers. It has also improved its cross-country assessments of institutional quality over the past 4 years, particularly in government effectiveness, albeit from low levels. Vietnam's trade deficit in the first half of May alone hit nearly $1.1 billion, totaling more than $3 billion so far this year, according to data from the General Department of Customs. The trade gap was equivalent to 4.3% of the country's export turnover. The country's exports have brought in nearly $69.7 billion, up 17.6% year-on-year, while import spending has surged 25% to over $72.71 billion. Notably, while export earnings in the first half of May fell sharply compared to the half month earlier, import expenditures rose strongly. The export decline is attributed to strong slides in the export of key products, such as phones and phone parts, textile products, computers, electronic products, and components. The Ministry of Planning and Investment has finalized a draft decree on policies encouraging enterprises to invest in agriculture and rural areas to submit to the Prime Minister. Accordingly, state credit institutions will offer enterprises developing national agricultural products 70% of investment capital support. The support will not exceed $351,000 per project, focusing on assisting firms in infrastructure development. The projects eligible for the support must satisfy certain regulations on minimum processing capacity. For example, 2,000 tons per year for coffee processing projects, 50,000 tons per year for regular white rice products, and 1,000 tons per year for pepper. Projects that provide seeds for key agricultural products will also receive 70% investment capital support, with a maximum level of over $88,000 per project. The Ministry of Planning and Investment will also focus on supporting projects that process wood exploited from plantation forests. Vietnam's gaming industry is expected to earn annual revenue of $1 billion within 10 years, according to experts. Last year, Vietnamese game studios launched 150 games, attracting 36 million players, earning $300 million. With this figure, Vietnam became the top gaming market in ASEAN and the 6th biggest market in Asia. Experts said Vietnamese game studios have designed many games that meet international standards. However, the gaming market is still dominated by foreign games. To reach the target of $1 billion in annual revenue within 10 years, experts suggest that the industry should focus on both international and domestic markets. We have just reviewed some of the economic highlights over the past week. Up next in our crosstalk, we'll talk about the future prospect of Da Nang real estates. The 25th Asia-Pacific Cooperation or APEC Summit 2017 will take place in Da Nang City this November this year, with the participation of leaders, ministers, and CEOs from 21 economies in the region. Da Nang City therefore must develop its infrastructure, transportation, accommodation, and services to cater to such a big event. The spur of investment into Da Nang is expected to create an impetus for the development of the city. But how will this fund impact the real estate sector of the city? We will talk with Mr. Matthew Powell, Director of Savills Hanoi, to discuss in depth about the opportunities that APEC will bring to Da Nang's real estate. But first, let's take a look at the following clip.
The APEC Summit Week will take place in Da Nang City from the 6th to the 11th this November. The 25th APEC Summit is the highlight. Besides leaders from 21 countries, Da Nang is expected to welcome 15,000 visitors, 6,000 journalists, and over 1,000 business people from major international corporations. In order to prepare for the event, the city has been developing infrastructure, including transport, accommodation, and human resources, and improving security. In addition, the event also promises a chance for the city to develop tourism and attract more foreign visitors. The event is regarded as a major factor in efforts to boost the city's real estate sector.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matthew Powell, for joining our BizLine program today.
Thank you for having me.
Our first question, APEC 2017 will be hosted in Da Nang, and this is considered a golden opportunity for Da Nang real estate market. So how do you think this will impact the opportunities for the real estate in Da Nang?
So APEC is a really exciting occurrence this year. It's really going to put Da Nang on the world stage. We've seen Da Nang develop rapidly over the last 5 years, and tourism numbers have really gone through the roof, up over 30% year on year for the first quarter. Hotels are having their best quarters in history. The hospitality sector across the board is performing extremely well. So this is all driving the real estate industry in Da Nang. And APEC is just going to elevate it that bit further to put it onto the international world stage, attended by world leaders, journalists from all around the world, and lots of CEOs from all sorts of multinational companies. So it's really going to elevate things and really put Da Nang on the map.
According to the market assessment, what segment do you think will benefit the most from APEC?
Hospitality is really performing extremely well, and real estate associated with that. So that can be resort properties, second homes, golf course properties. The hotel sector is obviously experiencing rapid growth. Many hotels in the area have seen the highest performance in history. So it's really going to benefit the hotel sector primarily. And there's a huge amount of construction underway to meet additional rooms, both needed for APEC, but also to meet the future demand from the increase in travellers that that we're now seeing, and B, that we're going to see that continued future growth, especially after the opening of the international terminal. With the APEC CEO Forum, we're going to see a lot of interest from international business. Da Nang's office market is still relatively small if you compare it to Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, but most of the more well-known international companies have a presence there. So I'd expect to see more demand for office space as companies start to do additional business there. Da Nang has a thriving economy on its own, so there's a lot of demand and business opportunities for many domestic and international enterprises to open and expand their office demand. We're seeing a lot of retail demand, so fashion retailers, food and beverage. If you visit Da Nang, you can see there's a lot of choice in terms of eating and dining and entertainment. But we're seeing a lot of well-known brands now who are looking to increase or take their first presence in Da Nang. The industrial sector is very busy, so there's been a lot of industrial investment and a lot of demand for industrial space, particularly from Japanese and Korean and other international enterprises who find Da Nang has a very flexible and useful investment policy, as well as having a very large port, and is currently undergoing a port expansion as well. So this is going to continue to drive manufacturing demand and demand for industrial space as well. Da Nang has a very well-rounded real estate sector, but it's really going to be very much driven by hospitality.
As part of preparations for APEC, Da Nang has been stepping up infrastructure development through large-scale investment. For example, $7.87 million project aims to convert the exhibition and convention center into a press center, serving the event, which is scheduled to be completed by July this year. Meanwhile, the new terminal of Da Nang International Airport began official operations in May. All of these have positively influenced the city's real estate sector.
Tăng trưởng nguồn cung là cái rõ rệt nhất và tăng trưởng nguồn cung tương lai. Ví dụ như là tại thời điểm cuối năm 2016 chúng tôi nhìn nguồn cung tương lai dự kiến của số lượng phòng khách sạn tại Đà Nẵng đến cuối năm 2017 thì con số này dự kiến tăng khoảng 30%. Thì đây là một cái con số tăng trưởng cũng khá là đáng kể.
In addition, prices of property in Da Nang have also increased. However, they are still reasonable compared to some other coastal cities such as Nha Trang and Vũng Tàu.
Hạ tầng của Đà Nẵng đang phát triển một cách rất tốt và các cái phát triển đó nó tạo ra các cái giá trị của bất động sản, đặc biệt là đất đai. Giá trị đất nền tại các cái phân khúc dự án thì nó khoảng trên 10 triệu trên 1 mét vuông. Thì mức giá đó chúng tôi đánh giá là phù hợp với cái thị trường của Đà Nẵng được tạo nên bởi các cái hệ thống hạ tầng mà nhà nước đã đầu tư, nhà nước và các doanh nghiệp bên ngoài đã đầu tư.
Meanwhile, APEC 2017 is expected to attract more foreign real estate companies.
Thị trường khách sạn Đà Nẵng hiện tại thì cũng mới chỉ có khoảng tầm dưới 20% lượng nguồn cung khách sạn là có sự tham gia của các đơn vị thương hiệu quản lý nước ngoài. Tuy nhiên đến hết năm 2017, đặc biệt là để đón sự kiện APEC vào tháng 11 thì sẽ có thêm một số các đơn vị thương hiệu quản lý quốc tế sẽ vào thị trường. Thì với những cái tham gia của các thương hiệu này thì thường là cái chất lượng của các khách sạn mà được vận hành với các thương hiệu này cũng thường là có cái mức độ cao cấp hơn so với trung bình của thị trường.
So in preparation for the APEC 2017, Da Nang has invested heavily on major infrastructures. So how do you think this will have an impact on the value of the real estate in Da Nang?
I mean, infrastructure is key, as everyone knows, to real estate value. We have the opening of the new international terminal earlier this month, which is making a huge difference in terms of international arrivals. So that's continued to drive the hospitality and residential sectors. We've also seen a lot of investment in roads, so improving the road infrastructure in and around Da Nang, plus additional bridges. You know, Da Nang's famous for its bridges, and these continue to connect the various parts of the city. So the airport plus the additional road infrastructure is really driving things, and keeping Da Nang as one of the most competitive cities in Vietnam for attracting investment.
So do you think there would be an escalations in price in real estates in Da Nang because with the investment in infrastructure, then the value will be increased?
Sure. So people that have invested into Da Nang over the last 5 years have benefited quite well. So it's growing in a very sustainable manner. So we're seeing price increases across the board for residential property certainly, but also commercial values in terms of office rents, retail rents, and the commercial values of those buildings. So we've seen a number of quite large M&A transactions, both for some of the 5-star hotels, but also the office properties. So we are expecting to see prices to increase, but not in a dramatic fashion. The key thing is obviously to have a thriving real estate market and a thriving economy, but to make sure it's sustainable growth, and that benefits the individual investors and the developers over the long term as well, not just the immediate short-term gains.
APEC 2017 will attract many news agencies worldwide, and this is a good opportunity for Da Nang to promote itself to the world. So how do you think this will have an impact on the existing resort properties in Da Nang?
So the resort property market has been going in Da Nang for about 10 years now, with some of the earlier properties that we've seen since the Furama, the High Regency Da Nang, the Nam Hai, which is now the Four Seasons. So Da Nang is very well known in the region, certainly. The majority of the guests that we're seeing, international arrivals that we're seeing, are mainly from the region. So many flights now connecting Japan, Korea, China, and a lot of visitors from Hong Kong and Singapore. A lot of the investors to date have been domestic, so Vietnamese buyers from Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, but also Da Nang. And we're now seeing a lot of foreign individual investors who are keen on Da Nang. And these, again, tend to be from the region. So either residents in Hong Kong or Singapore Malaysia, and Japan and Korea. So certainly a lot of interest. That's already there. Da Nang is much more well known in the region, but I think with the arrival of the international press and the various state leaders and CEOs that come into APEC, it's really going to elevate it to that next international level. So building up the fame and international reputation of Da Nang globally. So I'd expect to see an increase in awareness from the US, Europe, and other countries around the world to build on what it already has from countries in the region. So it's going to be a very busy, exciting time. So a lot of people will be descending on Da Nang, and I think Da Nang in Vietnam will be getting a lot of press coverage, and it's just going to elevate the reputation of the city across the globe.
APEC is regarded as a promising opportunity for the real estate market, especially for hotel, condotel, and resort products. According to the latest CBRE report, the number of 3 to 5 star condotels increased to over 11,400 rooms in the first quarter of this year. Despite increasing supply in the market, experts believe there has yet to be any imbalance in demand.
Hết năm 2017, thì dự kiến cái nguồn cung phân khúc khách sạn từ 3 đến 5 sao ở Đà Nẵng sẽ tăng trưởng khoảng 30%. Cái nguồn nhu cầu với cả khách trong nước và quốc tế thì tăng trưởng đâu đó khoảng tầm trên dưới 20%. Thì cũng có cái độ lệch đâu đó, tuy nhiên nó cũng không phải là một con số quá là đáng kể.
According to experts, the influence of APEC won't just be in short term. Instead, investors should pay more attention to long-term attractiveness of the city, especially its tourism potential.
Nếu như để phục vụ cho một Đà Nẵng phát triển, và đặc biệt là cái hệ thống hạ tầng bây giờ tốt như vậy, đến Đà Nẵng cũng không quá khó, đi đường bộ, đường thủy, đường hàng không đều tốt, thì tôi tin rằng là trong tương lai cái lượng khách đến du lịch đến Đà Nẵng nó sẽ đạt lên con số vài triệu trên một năm. Thì cái việc mà đáp ứng các cái sản phẩm phục vụ cho cái đối tượng này, tôi nghĩ ở Đà Nẵng trong tương lai cũng chưa chắc đã đáp ứng được.
Tính toán cái bài toán sau đó, kết hợp với các cái dịch vụ tiện ích, kết hợp với các tour du lịch không chỉ ở trong bản thân miền Trung mà còn các cái vùng miền khác của Việt Nam nữa, sẽ có thể giúp các chủ đầu tư tối đa hóa được cái công suất phòng cũng như là cái giá thuê phòng của mình.
According to the CBRE forecast, about 6,000 more 3 to 5 star hotel rooms will be opened between 2017 and 2018.
APEC will only take place for a short period of time. So do you think with the impact of APEC will be sustainable?
While APEC is only going to be a short time, this press and awareness generated can only help things. So APEC will, I believe it's only for a couple of weeks, but after that, the hospitality and the tourism story continues to grow for Da Nang. So we're very confident that things are going to keep improving. We're seeing this as a very sustainable growth. Da Nang is a good news story. It has so many things going for it. The coastline, its natural features, the investment in infrastructure, the competitiveness of the Da Nang authorities as well, and Da Nang as a province has a solid manufacturing sector, which drives a lot of the economy and the wealth in Da Nang, which in turn stimulates the domestic demand. So Da Nang, people from Da Nang investing into the property market as well. So combining all these different factors increases sustainability and provides a buffer to each of the property sectors, and this makes things much more sustainable going forward over the long term. If it was just reliant on hotels, for example, there could be an external shock. Perhaps in years past we've seen things like SARS or bird flu can really damage the tourism industry. But if there's other sectors such as manufacturing or a thriving office market and thriving demand from Da Nang residents, it makes a sustainable property market as a whole.
As you have just mentioned, APEC 2017 will create an impetus for the real estate market in Da Nang. So developers should take advantage of this opportunity. How should they prepare to take advantage? So
as you can imagine, there's frantic activity from the real estate developers and the hospitality developers in Da Nang. And Savills has been working in Da Nang for a long time, so working with many of these resort and hotel developers and operators. So Construction is progressing on many of the venues and many of the properties that are aiming to open for the APEC period. Of course, there's a huge amount of supply already there, but more additional supply is needed, both in terms of hotel rooms, conference spaces and event spaces. So in terms of the residential developers, in terms of the condominium market, second home, villa properties, these property developers are really focusing on their marketing campaign, both internally in Vietnam, but also for foreign buyers. So as you and your viewers may know now that foreign buyers are able to invest directly into the property market now. A lot of these developers are really focusing on their international marketing campaigns. How are they reaching these buyers, and how are they reaching people in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Japan, in Korea, etc. So it's very important for developers to really reach out and take full advantage of this really exciting period.
With 30 kilometers of coastline and beautiful beaches, Da Nang is a coastal city with a lot of potential in terms of tourism development. Forbes magazine voted the city's My Khe Beach as one of the 6 most attractive beaches on the planet. According to the city's Department of Tourism, it welcomed 5.51 million visitors in 2016, an increase of 17.7% against 2015, and equivalent to 107.2% of its target. Da Nang's coastal terrain is also favorable for construction. As a result, the city has become more attractive to both domestic and foreign investors.
So about 1,000 CEOs from multinational corporations all over the world will go to Da Nang. So how do you think, with the tourism advantage, how would Da Nang attract the investment from those corporations?
Sure. So we're expecting to see a lot of multinationals and corporations from all different sectors. So not just hospitality and tourism. It's going to be a huge driver in terms of attracting investment in many different sectors. Da Nang is obviously famous as a tourism destination and a second home destination, but it's also a thriving commercial city with huge amounts of manufacturing. So there's over 5 industrial parks, so a lot of different manufacturing going on within Vietnam itself. Da Nang port and the expansion going on there, it's going to continue to drive investment from Da Nang, but also going further out into the region as well. So it's going to be a very exciting time. I imagine this will be the first time for a lot of these visitors, firstly in Vietnam and certainly to Da Nang, I guess for many of them. So it's going to be an exciting time, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of deals going on the sideline, and it's really going to be a thriving investment promotion time. So it's going to be very exciting. We're all very gearing up for it, and I'm sure the investment authorities are structuring things very well. So it's going to be an exciting time.
For a long time, the real estate market in Da Nang has held great appeal to investors from Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, but not the local investors. So do you think the developers should have any plan to attract more local investors?
So historically, the majority of buyers, certainly for the resort properties and second home properties, have been from Hanoi, with a certain amount from Ho Chi Minh City. What we've observed certainly in the last year is a huge amount of investment from people from Da Nang and neighbouring provinces as well. So there's been an increase in the number of properties that are more township, more aimed at the local buyers' needs and uses, so not just the tourism visitors. So this is very positive, and it just shows that Da Nang has a sustainable growth trajectory and is looking to benefit not just the tourism arrivals, not just the hotels, but also those the residents and people from Da Nang itself. So this is very positive, and we've just started to see this in the last year to 6 months or so. But developers are very much aware and focused on the growing demand from Da Nang itself.
Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Matthew Powell, for joining our BizLine program today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
APEC will put the already rapidly developing Da Nang on the world stage, as Da Nang is known in Vietnam and the region as the hospitality hotspot. The development that is happening to meet APEC demand will be matched by the massive growth in tourism that is already underway. These are contributing factors that have been forecasted to generate growth in all segments of the city's real estate sector. And this has wrapped up this edition of BizLine. Thank you very much for watching. You can always rewatch our program at vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go. From our team here in Hanoi, see you next time.